Get involved in this historical business?
Well, a good friend of mine, Ron Kuntz, came to me back around '92, and they needed someone to help fill in at the Battle of Blue Licks. And they said they had the clothes, and they said they had the shoes. They had everything I needed. All I needed to do was just show up, and they'd fit me out. And I said, "Do I get to shoot one of those flintlock muskets?" And they said, "Yeah." And I said, "Well, I'm in." And the first time I saw that flint spark, I was hooked.
That's enough to get somebody hooked, I'm telling you.
Yeah. So that's kind of how it started, you know, just filling in with some people and loved it.
Yeah, well, that's great. You know, I've always kind of had an interest in history myself, and of course, my mother taught history at North Hardin. I don't know if you had her in class.
I had her for English.
Okay. Rudy and I went to high school together, so I guess we go back a little ways. But
just a few years.
We're not going to say when this was. No, sir. We're not going to say when it was.
No.
But my mother, being a history teacher, she taught American history. I guess I just kind of grew up or being around. But you know, when I was in college, I got interested in muzzleloader hunting. Of course, that's about the time that Jeremiah Johnson movie came out, you know, and everybody got involved in those Hawken rifles. Had a 54 caliber Hawken that I still have, but the old flintlock, that's kind of a cool thing.
I think it was it literature that your mother taught? I think she taught some literature.
Yeah,
I think that's what I had her for.
Yeah, she taught English, literature.
That's what it was. It was a literature class.
She taught American history and also government class.
Right. It was a literature class that I had her for. Yeah. I remember. Now that I remember.
She was a double major and had her rank 1, and she was qualified to teach quite a few things. Yeah. She's still cooking. She's 95 years old. Dad passed away a few years ago. Mom's still around. She's
I had your dad for math.
Yeah, and half the kids in northern Hardin County had Dad for math.
Yeah.
You know, he started teaching in a one-room schoolhouse.
Oh, really? Did not know that.
Started teaching. Yeah, and Steele's Crossroads, which is now on the Fort Knox reservation. It's up here, not too far from where you live. I don't think it's on the Fort Knox reservation, but it's no longer a community, but a place called Steele's Crossroads. But Dad's family, I do a lot of genealogical work, and Mom and Dad both have really deep roots in early Kentucky and even the American Revolution. Dad's he had two great grandmothers who were their maiden name were Yates. You know, there's a lot of Yateses in this part of the county, but I'm sort of related to just about any and all of them. In fact, you remember Bernie Yates?
Yeah.
Went to school with us, but but now the Yates family, they go back to Virginia, and there was a Colonel William Yates that was kind of the progenitor of some of this family, and he served on Washington's staff. He was, I guess, they call him a commissary, or he was involved in obtaining supplies for the Virginia regiments. And then another one of Dad's ancestors was a Bewley, and he was in the 11th Virginia Regiment, and he served under General Morgan. He was one of Morgan's rifles. The 11th Virginia was one of Morgan's rifles. And the Bewleys came into Hardin County here. There's still some Bewleys that live here. Goes way back. Mom's side of the family, she's she's a direct descendant of Charles Skaggs, the long hunter that settled in Greene County.
Oh,
one of the
okay.
Skaggs brothers. I don't know if you really studied this history or not, but the Skaggs brothers were one of the very first. They were in Kentucky in the 1760s. They came in, I mean, just really early on. And
let's see, Pat, my wife, she's a McAfee, so she's kin to the McAfee people that came through.
yeah. I had, and also on the mother's side, they had a Graham, Edward Graham's, my ancestor. He was at Blue Licks. He was at the Battle of Blue Licks. He was one of the survivors. But I think his nephew was killed there at Blue Licks. Little James Graham was killed at Blue Licks. But Grahams, they were also from Greene County over here. Skaggs and Grahams, they were all long hunters that came into that long hunter camp.
Oh, okay.
You know, that Skin House Branch there in Greene County. I don't know if you've ever been over there.
No, never.
We need to go see that.
Yeah.
It's way out in the middle of nowhere, but they've got some historical markers up there. And
Oh, okay.
they've got a couple of monuments. There's a little church that's there on the site, but there was a group of them that came in. I think it was 1769, and they set up camp there,
Oh.
and they were hunting all throughout the Green River Valley, and then they were bringing their hides back in there, and they had 2,000 or 3,000 hides stored, and the Indians started giving them some trouble, so they packed up what they could and headed back to Virginia, and they had a skin house where they had all these hides
Uh-huh.
covered up and stored, and they weren't able to come back for some time, and then when they came back, the Indians had got into them, and the animals had got into them, and there was a tree they found that was carved there. I think the carving said 2,500 skins gone to ruination.
That's a lot of skins.
Yeah, I mean, that was a fortune.
Oh, yeah, it was.
Back then, that was a
Good
fortune.
gosh. I can imagine.
No. So you got into reenacting, and then when did you first start doing some of the woodworking that you do now?
That is interesting. I was into the reenacting, and we were visiting Pat's parents, I guess somewhere around 96, 98, somewhere in that time frame, when I was going to Martin Station. And he pulled out and he was already making items from that time period, like the candle boxes and pipe boxes, and I got a little interested in it because I was already woodworking. I started making a few odds and end things, but not of that time period. And I saw those boxes, and I said, "Oh, I think I'll try that." So I made a few boxes, and then I did a blanket trader thing for a couple of years where I had my pipe boxes and candle boxes laid out. And then one day he said, "You might be interested in this. I have there's an old article on how to build a tape loom in the early American life." And he gave me that magazine, and so I made one, and so I was putting it together. I was working on it there at Martin Station, on my underneath my diamond shelter, and got an order for one. I said, "Well,
Well, there you go.
Yeah,
There's a demand here.
yeah." So so that I made a few changes to that one because the directions on that one was not quite correct. They had a few things backwards. But anyway, so that's been my biggest seller for all these years. But from there, it went just gradually went into other items. You know, I said, well, I'd like to make that, then I'd like to make this. You know, so. And then
got the pattern, and you know.
Yeah, and you know, a few people would send me a few things, saying, "Well, can you make this?" And I said, "Well, no, I hadn't, but I think I can."
Yeah.
So you know, it's kind of how it started. Just my Pat's father handed me that magazine, and he was an excellent woodworker. He made a lot of Windsor chairs from scratch. He'd go out and split the logs, and you know. He did everything from, he'd buy a log and then he'd start from that log.
Yeah.
He'd
air dried out
and everything, yeah. Yeah, the ones that are in the living room, those are all the Windsors that he made.
Chair building is beyond my capacity.
Yeah, one of these days I might try it, but I don't know. I don't have room in my shop to go about it right now.
I've built a few things for Suzanne and us over the years. We live in a log home as well as you, and we built in '96. I was telling you, and tried to finish out the house with as much personal touch as we could get, and. The kitchen cabinets were all made from cherry that came off of our farm in Indiana. And we trimmed the windows out with walnut that came from the farm in Indiana. Because as Dad had all this lumber stored up in the barn.
Yeah.
And it'd been there for years and years. And when we got ready to build a house, I said, Van, I'm taking that wood because you're not using it, and I'm going to use it. And you know, the ash trees have been decimated from this emerald ash borer. And we've had a lot of ash trees on the farm, but he had had some ash sawed up, and I ended up using the ash on the floor in our kitchen dining room.
Yeah.
That stuff's hard as a baseball bat.
Yeah.
In fact, they do make some baseball bats out of it.
Yeah.
But that turned out pretty good, because I had some real wide boards, and if you're wanting to have a more authentic looking cabin,
right,
they use wide boards.
Right.
So that helped. But it's just all. I like wood. I know you do.
Yeah. Can't get away from it.
My college roommate his family had a hardwood lumber business up in Ohio, and my buddy was always seeing a board come through, and he'd grab it and snatch it up and say, I'm going to send that to WL, and I'll get a piece of this and that over the years, and made things for Suzanne. But it's an enjoyable hobby, woodworking is.
Yeah, it keeps me out of trouble.
Well, yeah.
No, it stays. I stay real busy with it. Like I say, most of the things in the house I've made from when I have time, when I'm not making stuff for our reenactments that I take out to sell. But just about everything in this house is either made by me or her father.
And that's something special.
Yeah.
You don't see that. Most people are getting mass-produced junk, I call it.
Yeah.
Pressed board furniture. Might as well just throw that out and burn it, as far as I'm concerned. I want to have the real thing.
They weren't made to be moved either.
No.
But no, it's a fun hobby.
Yeah. Back, I don't know, I guess it's maybe 30 years ago, they had an auction there in Hodgenville, and there was a bunch of lumber had been stored in a barn, and my neighbor went down, was at this auction, and he got to looking at that lumber, and they were going to sell it off. It had like 50 years of dirt on it. I mean, it was the nastiest looking stuff. And he got to scraping it off and looking at it. It was curly maple, all of it, the whole stack of it. And so they brought it out to bid on it. Well, he got it next to nothing, you know, like $50 for the whole stack.
My gosh.
Nobody knew what it
What
was.
yeah.
And it had been air dried for, 50 years or so. It was down there where the, I don't know if you've been through Hodgenville, the Calorama sod farm, right in town.
Yeah.
But back years ago when they auctioned all that off, it was the barn there that for the lumber had come out of. So anyway, I ended up getting some of that curly maple from him out of that stack of wood, and had a friend make me a gun cabinet out of it. Not with glass in it, but just solid curly maple, the whole thing.
That is pretty.
And it's as big as your kitchen cabinet there. But I just love that wood because it almost has a three-dimensional quality to it. That curl in there.
Yeah, the figure really makes the wood pop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, with the long rifles, I know they use the iron nitrate and the, kind of an acid. Have you ever done any of that on furniture work? Have you ever tried to do any of that?
No, I use on my furniture. All I ever use is boiled linseed oil and beeswax mixture. It's but the linseed oil that I use does not have any dryers in it, so it's food safe. The only thing bad about that is, you can't be in a hurry.
Yeah.
Everything has to be hand rubbed, and then you have to wait and give it time to dry, and then before you put the next coat on. So it takes a lot of time to do the finish that I do, but it adds depth to the furniture.
Yeah.
So everything is with the linseed oil beeswax mixture, but like I say, it doesn't have any dryers, so it's food. It's a food safe, so I can use it for my furniture or bowls and spoons that I might
anything like that.
So anything, and it's just well, you can say it's just a beautiful finish on it.
Oh yeah, and as you rub that and you can put several coats on.
Oh, there's a lot of coats on this on this walnut table here, and it's just it just makes a beautiful finish. And this table and I've never and I do come back with a wax on top of it. Renaissance wax is what I use.
Is that a Carnal?
It's a museum grade furniture wax, and that too. It's all rubbed with your hand into the wood. And we've had this table for a number of years now, and it has never been touched with wax in that whole time.
Yeah.
This might be about 6 or 7 years old, and it's still the original finish that I have on it.
Yeah. Yeah. I've made my wife a lingerie chest out of walnut that came off of our farm. But I didn't put the hand rub stuff on there. I ended up putting a glossy lacquer on it.
Well, that's all I've ever used. That's all I started out with, and I don't think Pat would let me do anything else now. Anyway.
No, you done got her spoiled. That's for sure.
Yeah. So everything I make has that finish to it. So it's a lot of hand rubbing.
Yeah, I built some turkey box calls and made about 40 of them last year. And of course, that's not 18th century period. It's more late 19th when the box calls came into use. But I use a hand rubbed tongue oil on it. I want it to be as water resistant because these guys are going to be using them out in the woods.
They'd be outside,
And I need those to have kind of a water resistant finish on them as much as I can. and the tung oil works good for me.
Yeah, if I have something that's going to go outside, like the folding tables that I make, I do use tung oil on them.
Yeah.
But if it's not going to go outside, everything else is with the linseed oil, beeswax. But I do use tung oil on those items.
Yeah. Talk about you were talking about you're getting a new kit for a flintlock rifle. Are you thinking a rifle, or I really need a smooth bore myself. I've got a couple of rifles now, but I'm thinking about doing a smooth bore.
It'll be another rifle along the same lines as the last one,
Yeah.
the Virginia rifle. But I don't know if I'll have the time to do it. It took me forever to get this last one,
Yeah.
with all my other woodworking.
Yeah.
But just have that extra lock, and now would be a good time to probably start one. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to get caught up on some of my woodworking stuff. That I have a few orders standing out there.
Yeah. So describe what things are you currently building, and I don't know, we might run over, if you got your shop open, we might run out and take a look at the different things you're building here in a minute.
Okay.
But
The only thing I have going right now is a doctor's box. That would have been used, that they would travel with. I guess a field box. I'm in the process of making one of those right now. And then I'm supposed to get back with the fellow, and he's wanting a campaign chair like the my one over there, that curly maple one. He's wanting one of those, possibly with a leather seat and a leather back. And that's something that's in the works. I got to get back with him and let him know the price on it, and decide if we're going to go ahead with it or not. I had never done one with a full leather seat and full leather back, so I really don't know how much more it's going to cost to do all that. So that's
let me kind of zoom over there.
This is a British campaign chair. This is based off of one that was 1750. It was a captain's chair that was over here in the States. This one's curly maple, and it has a hand woven cane seat. And on the campaign chairs, the furniture had to break down, so the seat would fold up, and then the legs would fold in. And when they weren't in use, this was how they were stored. Space was at a premium, so.
And if they had several of them, they'd pack well in a wagon. And
So that was the British campaign chair, and they had all types of furniture that broke down.
Yeah.
And that just happened to be a copy of one or reproduction of one that was 1750.
All right. Made a cedar chest for my wife, and made a curly maple coffee table, and some odds and ends stuff like that. But it helps if you've got somebody that really knows woodworking.
Right.
Because, if you're trying to figure this stuff out on your own, it can it can be a little bit of a challenge.
Well, yeah, it can be. Well, I'm self-taught, and so people ask me how I do stuff, and I say, well, there's a right way, wrong way, and then there's a Rudy way. I said, now, the Rudy way might be the long way around, but I get it accomplished anyway.
Oh, yeah. Well, you just have to kind of sit down and think about what you're trying to, what the end result's going to be, and figure out a way to get there. But there are some folks that just might not ever be able to figure that out.
I guess I'm just lucky that I'm able to.
Oh, man.
How do you do that? Well, so I really can't tell you. I just get it done.
But now, are you using like dovetail joinery? And
if I use dovetail, yes. I use on a lot of my boxes, and like on that Dutch chest there, that behind us, that's the drawers and all that are all dovetailed.
So
all
and
hand
you hand mark it and hand cut it, so they're all custom fit.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't use a jig on the dovetailing because I've done so many now that I can lay them out quicker than I can set up a router and a jig.
Yeah.
So plus to me it's more fun to cut them by hand.
Yeah.
And I can knock them out pretty quick, and then nothing's uniform. You know, if I make a candle box, well, it's all made to the wood that I have, and so everything's not going to be the same dimension, so it can't be laid out the same. So if I'm making a number of pipe boxes or candle boxes and I'm dovetailing, each one's just a little different.
Yeah.
So.
Well, you're not set up on a production line.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Everything's a custom piece.
Right. So.
Which is the difference.
And so it's not, and once you get it down, you can lay one out pretty quicker than I could set up a jig.
Yeah. Yeah, and I haven't done a whole lot of the dovetail joinery. That would be a challenge for me to do, but then I don't really make the level of, the type of furniture, the quality that you're doing. So we all do things a little bit differently and so forth. But.
And everybody has a little different style of work too,
Now, do you have a favorite wood you like to work with?
Cherry, pretty much. Lately it's been a lot of walnut, and that's because my wife has gotten into walnut. First it started out with cherry, but I basically just work with cherry and walnut. I have made a number of curly maple items, a few bird's eye maple items. It just varies, but most of it, the majority of it is cherry and walnut.
Yeah, those both are real good woods, and a lot of people don't realize that walnut dust can be kind of a little caustic on you.
Oh,
have you ever?
I've got to be very careful when I'm working in walnut, because I can get bronchitis pretty easy from the wood dust.
Yeah.
So in my shop, I have all types of air filtrations and everything.
Yeah.
So, and I make sure I have my mask on when I'm cutting walnut, especially walnut, and any of the woods, I'll wear a mask now. But if I want to keep doing this.
Yeah.
But
exactly. And
but
I'm running
walnut,
a vacuum and everything.
Yeah. If I don't, I'll be sick as a dog.
Okay, tell me about that cabinet that you're standing beside there.
Well, Pat designed it. It's a cupboard hutch, and the shelves that you see here are the saw teeth, the teeth going up and down. That's for the shelf adjustment. Okay, so you just raise and lower it by putting them inside these notches that are in through here. That was the way they were done back in that time period, our time period that we work with. And it says, actually this is a figured or curly walnut. Most of it is a curly walnut. And as you were asking me earlier about the dovetails, the drawers are dovetailed in. And it took me a little while to make this piece because my shop's not real big, and so I had to make it in sections. But it's probably my favorite piece that I've ever made. It turned out real well. And the back of it's shiplapped boards are in the back of it. And that's pretty much it. But like I say, Pat designed it, and she said, "Can you do this?" I said, "Well, I think I can."
Okay, we're running.
We're running, okay. Well, here's a few items that I make, with the exception of the desk, that one desk. That's Pat's father made that one out of cherry. But this is here is a copy or reproduction of Thomas Jefferson's writing desk. And it traveled with him, and they say that part of the Declaration was written on that his particular desk. There was, and for reading purposes, it would be in this position here, and for writing purposes, it would lay over, and then you had the soft base because you need the base when writing with a quill pen. And then all the adjustments for the desk is for, I guess, the style of writing and the flow of the ink. So you would adjust it to the ink and your style of writing. So that's the reason for the different height adjustments on the Jefferson desk. And we quit, have it with an inkwell. This is a quill pen.
Sharpen
I mean, for
up.
yeah, there's a quill knife for sharpening the quills. It was a knife specifically made for making quills.
That looks like a turkey feather there.
It is. Turkey feathers were used along with goose feathers, and they work well. But in mine, they're so old that you don't have to dry them, so they work fine. And then another item that I sell quite a bit of are the Bible boxes. Those have been good sellers for me over the years, and the Jefferson desk. And probably one of my favorite items to make are the tip-top tables. That this one here is curly cherry. I don't know if you can tell it or not, but
yeah,
it has a nice figure to it. This one's a curly cherry that I made. I've made a few of these, and I finally got around to making one that for myself. So this one's for me.
Well, yeah, every now and then you got to keep your own stuff.
Yeah. So most of the stuff, the first thing of everything I make usually Pat keeps. If she likes it, she keeps it, and then the rest of it goes into the store, our store, when we travel. But anyway, I really enjoy making these.
Yeah.
And
that's pretty. I love that cherry look.
And there's that one there that I made that. But like I say, most everything you see in here, all these chairs you see in here, these Windsor chairs that Pat's father made. Every one of these Windsor chairs.
That Mel Gibson movie, The Patriot, he's always trying to make that chair.
I know.
It's always falling apart.
I know. Like I say, he starts with just a log, and this is what he ends up with. He is. I just wish one day that I could be a near good craftsman as he is. He had to quit because of his essential tremors, but there was not probably a better Windsor maker in the country than him.
And they're gorgeous. All right, tell me what you're
Okay,
looking at.
what I'm holding here is a gout stool, and it's made on compound angles. As you see, it's all hand-cut dovetails at angles, compound angles, and it was a stool that was carried around with people that suffered from gout. And when they got to where they're going, they just set the stool down and prop their feet up on it. I
had a professor at Georgetown who used to talk about gout. Says you get gout because you're drinking sweet wines and rich foods.
Yeah. Maybe that's why the wealthy were the ones who suffered from it the most.
I guess.
But anyway, so this is a neat little item. It takes a little time to cut the dovetails on this because of the angles, but it's I enjoy making it.
All right. Okay, Rudy. We're here in your shop. So tell me a little bit. You've got a project going on here. Tell me a little about. And it looks like that's tulip poplar that you're
this is tulip poplar. And it says, for a guy who portrays a doctor, and this is it's going to be his traveling kit box. This is one of the inserts that goes in the bottom of the box that that you pull out. And then there's 3 other trays that are going to stack in there. And this is the other 2 are inside the other side of the shop. But anyway, so these are all fit into the big box that I'm getting ready to finally close in on. All I lack basically is putting the furniture on the outside of the box, and it'll be close to being done. I've got the lock inlet in on it, and it lacks probably another day's work. You know, just final fitting on everything.
Now, is you gonna stain that?
He wants to do that himself, so I don't know how he's gonna do it. He might paint it or he might stain it. I just don't know. But
I guess painting would probably be period correct for a medical person.
Right.
Probably had their name scripted along the side of it.
Yeah. He wanted to finish it up himself, so I said, and I don't mind that at all.
Yeah.
He said that saved me quite a little bit of time.
And I'm kind of visualizing here. I'm thinking this guy's probably got all these bottles with all of his different kinds of medicines, and he probably got a thing with some leeches in it,
right.
And a bone saw.
Yeah, well, he has all the saws.
And a tooth puller.
Yeah.
Well, maybe a doctor wouldn't want to pull a tooth. They'd send him to the barber to do that. I don't know.
I don't know about that. But he has all the saws and everything. And he's going to put the saws in the lid of the box.
Okay.
And then other saws and then things down in here. Exactly how he's going to lay it out, I don't know. But
I would have hated to have been wounded badly back in those days. It was just a miracle for a person to survive.
I bet. Oh, you know it was.
No antibiotics.
No, you know it was. I don't even want to think about it. But so this is that box.
Oh, that's real nice. Thing about tulip poplar is you can make that wood look just about like anything depending on how you finish it out.
Oh yeah, I've seen it where it's kind of curly. Now, I think the guy said he sets it out in the sun and it brings that curl out or something.
Yeah.
I don't know, but yeah, this is the box. It's not a little box.
No. That's kind of an expedition size, and I'm sure a doctor back during that time he would either strap that to a horse, or he had a pack. I would assume he probably would have had a pack horse.
Pack horse or wagon, or if he was, I don't know how they would have.
Buggy, or
if he was traveling with the military, it would have been in a wagon of some sort.
Yeah.
Yeah. So more than likely, because the guy that's doing it, Dave Phipps, he's with the 71st Highlanders, and he's wanting to decide to do a little bit of that impression of a doctor, field doctor. And he said, described the box. He said it was something that was thrown together quickly.
Yeah.
So that's why we went with poplar and not one of your nicer woods like mahogany or cherry.
Yeah.
And so the box is just the poplar and the and pine.
Yeah. And I could see him using a lot of pine back in those days. Yeah. Whatever.
Yeah, it depends on the region that you're from. The southern region, I think a lot of yellow pine was used down the southern region.
Yeah.
The Carolinas and Virginia.
Yeah.
But we decided to go with poplar on this one.
Well, that's gonna be a nice piece to have. If you're doing a physician from that time period, that would be very important, and especially if you're working with the military.
Yeah. And you can actually see on this one, you can start to see a little bit of that curl through here. So, you know, like Guy told me how he did it, how he brought it out, but I just can't remember.
Yeah.
But I don't fool with Popper that much, so.
Yeah. You know, I've done a few violin restorations. And I read up on Stradivarius and how the various processes that he used when he was making his violins. And one of the things those guys did, of course, we're getting out of the, I guess, Stradivarius, very early 1700s, maybe late 1600s, early 1700s, I think was his time period. But they would get up to a certain point in that manufacture of that violin, and they would actually set them out in the sun. And, all right, we've been here with Rudy McKinney, and we want to thank Rudy.
Well, thank you.
And sure have enjoyed our old time together and talking about all your woodworking projects over the years. And we want all of our viewers, if you catch Rudy out there at a show or a reenactment or wherever you're set up, take a look at his woodworking, and I'm sure you'll be very pleased with anything that Rudy makes.
Well, thank you.
So we'll see you on the next episode.